Welcome to Discovering Africa Through Technology, the podcast series that showcases the brilliance of Africa's great minds, innovators, and experts as they tackle complex challenges with homegrown solutions driven by knowledge, technology, and innovation. Our podcast is inspired by the African Union Agenda 2063 Aspiration 7, which seeks to rebrand Africa and change negative narratives and perspectives through science, technology, and innovation. We believe that Africa has the power to solve its own development challenges and become a strong, united, resilient, peaceful, and influential global player and partner. Join us as we explore the transformative potential of technology in Africa with your host, Razia Kulatain Mwanga, and learn from the experts driving change on the African continent.
And today in the program, we are privileged to have Engineer Noël N'guessan, who is an expert, and he will tell us all about his innovation. He is the winner of African Prize 2021, and today he shall be telling us how to use agri-waste and agri-processing waste to make fertilizer and gas, and also how to transform your green waste to cooking gas and compost using bio-waste processing equipment. So for all of you who have had problems with your agri-waste, this is the program to be listening into. So to start us off, welcome Noël. Kindly introduce yourself and tell us more about your innovation.
Hi, I'm Noël N'guessan. So I'm a co-founder of an engineering SME called Lono, and we make technology more accessible to agricultural value chains to generate more income from their waste streams. So the specific innovation here is the compact biodigesters called Kubeko that small farmers, small businesses, but even slightly larger agro-processing sites can use to produce their own fertilizer in the form of compost, but also biogas for cooking. So the advantages is the compact and high yield aspect of it, and the mobile aspect. So you can move it around. It's not fixed in at the location, and it's also modular. So you can slowly increase your capacity according to your budget.
What motivated you to create this innovation?
There was a need in the market for such a solution. There's a lot of agricultural waste available in my country, at least. And there's a very limited technology or even knowledge to start with on how to, extract value from it. So as a chemical engineer, for me, it came a bit natural to look at these processes, and then eventually made sense to focus on that as my specialty and eventually to start a business.
I understand annually, Côte d'Ivoire produces 30 million tons of waste. And like you said, that this innovation is important for solving that problem. So can you take us through, how does this work?
Well, we try to make it as simple as possible. The equipment is installed very simply at the location where the waste is produced. The waste is used to feed it, and every day you generate the product. There's a startup period of maybe 3 weeks to 1 month where you're starting up the production. But once it's operating, it's really daily feed, daily in, daily out. So it's quite easy to use. In terms of the larger units we have, the gas can also be sufficient to generate electricity with small biogas generators. But right now, we mostly have use cases in cooking at school canteens, at households, and some small businesses.
Is it used for large-scale production of waste, or only for small scale, like households? Because what is produced at home, do you have something for that small market and then you have for a bigger market?
We used to have only one size for households. Now we have two sizes. So the households have their size. So yes, we target that market, particularly rural households where there's a need for this compost. Because if you don't have anywhere to use the compost, then it becomes waste, right? So you don't want to generate waste. So if there's for these agricultural households in rural areas, they are a market. And then there's larger units for, I would say, small agribusinesses, but it can also apply to communities. So it's not individual, it's big enough for 30 houses to benefit. Also agricultural communities and cooperatives as well. We target sort of these two segments.
Tell us how this waste is turned from being waste and it is turned to gas and fertilizer.
Simple, it's fermentation. So it's bacteria that eat the waste and decompose it, and they're eating the waste, they produce the gas. After they're done eating the waste, what is left is compost. So that's really how it works. And inside the innovation, we've created conditions for that fermentation to go as fast as possible, because the faster it goes, the smaller volume you need, and then it can be cost effective. So bacteria eating the waste and then producing two products, gas and compost.
So far, you've installed 50 composters and you've installed them in cocoa, palm oil, and mango farms. Can you tell us more about this?
We have also another product that are like plain composters that also use fermentation to convert waste to compost effectively to get to 20 to 30-day cycles. And there it's really about solving post-harvest losses. In case of mango, there's lots of fruits that are unfit for consumption or for processing or export. So that lays in the fields and attracts diseases and pests, So then the composters can be a way for the farmers to better manage the health of their plantation, because they can now put these mangoes in the composter, prevent the pests from spreading, and in the end they have compost. So that's the use case there. In cocoa, it's quite similar. When you harvest the cocoa beans, you're left with quite a significant mass of husks, cocoa pod husks. And that biomass is right now also a vector for diseases for the plants. So now we are finding ways for the farmers to turn that source of concern into an opportunity with the composters.
Okay, can you tell us more about gas? For example, take us through, for somebody who is listening to this program and they have heard and they want to use this technology, so that because electricity is expensive and gas is expensive. So can you tell us the process if somebody wants to use this for cooking? What's the process?
For the digesters that make biogas, the process is you buy one and you start using it, and then you have gas. Every day you feed it, every day you'll generate gas. So, it's really just a box with some specific things inside that you put your waste in every day. It's really that simple. You put the waste in every day, and on the other side of the machine, you'll collect your fertilizer. On the top of the machine, you collect your gas. When the gas is produced directly, it's stored in a bag and you can use it to cook. One small domestic machine.
5 kilograms of daily solid waste, which provides 2 hours of cooking gas and 50 liters of liquid compost.
Yeah, that's it. So you will feed the waste every day, and you'll produce enough gas to cook for 4 hours.
When you talk about 5 kilograms of solid waste, that is a lot of waste, because a normal household does not produce 5 kilograms of solid waste. Nowadays, we have those nuclear families. So for this machine to work, it has to use 5 kilograms of daily solid waste, which provides 2 hours worth of cooking gas and 50 liters of liquid compost.
That's it. So indeed, 5 kilos of waste is maybe a lot for an average household nowadays. So they have to either find waste somewhere else. But what we target is really agricultural households in rural areas. Because when you're in a rural area, you have access to a lot of other types of green waste. There's grass, there's leaves, there's fruit falling from trees. There's lots of biomass that you have access to. In the city, it's difficult. So we don't even target the cities. We target the agricultural rural areas where a lot of biomass is available.
You've said this is more relevant to rural areas, but also I am looking at this innovation as a solution to African markets, because there's a lot of waste that is thrown every day. And this could be an ideal solution for those markets. Okay, just you talked about you get compost and you also get gas. So does this product come with a gas cylinder, or how does that work? Because you said you collect your gas and you collect your compost.
Product comes with a biogas storage bag. So these are bags really designed to store biogas for small uses. And that's where you store it. It's at low pressure, so it's very safe. And then from the bag, you are connected to the burner for the cooking.
I know there are other products like yours in the market that do similar or different things, but they're almost similar. So what makes your innovation more unique than other innovations similar to yours?
The first thing is the way we designed it so that you get a lot of waste for a small unit. So the sizes that we have are usually half the size or even 20% of the size of competing solutions that give the same amount of gas. So already you save a lot of space. Second thing is the type of waste you can go in. We have designed the solution package so that even when you have a solid waste that is not good usually for biogas, where most current biogas solutions are for animal manure, that's one of the innovating aspects, is that our solution package can treat that type of waste. So it opens up a lot the possibilities in terms of accessing biogas in rural areas. And maybe the last part, which is not so much in the innovation, but in the business model, is on how we are implementing a pay-as-you-go model so that the households or small businesses in rural areas don't have to invest in the equipment all the time. There's cases where they can also just buy what they consume in terms of gas, as long as they're able to guarantee long-term purchase of the gas. Then we can find financing to install the equipment, and then they just pay for the gas they consume, which for them is much more accessible than purchasing the whole equipment.
Okay, so how much does one unit, because you talked for big farms, for households, so how many sizes do you have, and how much does each one cost?
We have two sizes, and the household size costs about $1,300 without any subsidy. So that's the full price if you have to pay for it yourself. And then the larger size is about $13,000. And that one will produce enough gas for the small electricity generator. It will provide enough gas for cooking for up to 20 houses. It's much bigger than the first one.
And how long does it take to create one unit?
We manufacture them, the bigger one, in 1 month. And the larger one, we do them in 1 week.
Pay as you use. How does that work?
That's one of our innovating aspects on the business model, is that the user doesn't have to pay for the machine, doesn't have to invest in the whole machine. They can just pay for what they consume. But the condition for that is that there's at least one buyer or a significant buyer that is able to guarantee a long-term purchase. So it can be a cooperative that says, okay, we process here cassava every day for 5 years. Now we want this solution. We'll buy your gas for the next 3 years. From that contract, we're able to finance and install the unit, and then they just purchase the gas. So for them, it's much cheaper than investing in the machine. It unlocks the potential, and that's how it works.
What investment did you invest in this project?
Started with about 60,000 euros over the first 2 years to develop the first prototypes.
So far, how many units have you supplied?
I think we crossed 100 recently, so we're a bit over 100. Mainly composters, but more and more biodigesters as well.
I've also seen that the government has also contracted you to do some work with them. So what are you working on with the government?
The National Waste Management Agency is looking to increase the proportion of the waste that is recycled or valorized to reduce the net cost of waste management. I guess that's the same everywhere in the world. They are looking at the equipment, the Kubekos, as a way to make waste management itself a small business. So can someone use the Kubekos as an income generating tool by collecting organic waste and making compost with it, or biogas and compost? That's what we're piloting with them. So they initiated it, and we were happy to partner and supply the equipment and train the youth and start collecting data to see if it's a viable proposition for job creation, sanitation, environmental protection. So it meets a lot of social targets.
Let's talk about this initial capital. Was it a grant or was it personal finances? Because there are people who are listening to this and they have these ideas and they want to put them into use, and they're thinking, wow, 60,000 euros.
Definitely starting a hardware business is expensive. That I cannot lie to people. They have to know, if you're creating a business where the innovation is the physical equipment, that is costly in Africa. That's one of our biggest hurdles as a continent in terms of innovation, because software innovation is one thing, but a lot of what we need is hardware innovation. For us, it was a mixture of own cash, about 20,000 own cash from savings, because I was working before and so on. And the 40,000 additional was an investment from an early stage angel investor that believed in the business very early and took some shares in the company we created and supported us in exchange for the shares with the 40,000. After that, soon as we got the first prototypes operational and we were able to explain what we're trying to do more clearly, then we were able to win grants and prizes for innovation. That was the next phase of financing before reaching a stage now where we are financed mostly from sales. We do get grants still for trying the scaling strategy, for part of our scaling strategy, but we make enough sales to sustain the core part of the business, which took quite some years, which took over almost 4 years.
Wow, that's quite interesting. Okay, can you tell us about this technology that you have and this business? It's very interesting. Can it be exported? And are you right now? I know you're working in Cote d'Ivoire. Have you explored other African markets where you could export this technology?
Yes. So myself, I grew up in Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa. So I'm very open to the rest of the continent. In terms of short-term expansion, we're looking at Burkina Faso, Ghana, so 2 countries near Cote d'Ivoire. And we are looking also at possible pilots in Rwanda and Zambia. But yeah, definitely more focus on the countries really near us, Ghana, Burkina Faso. We already made some sales in Ghana, actually. We have 2 customers in Ghana already. And yeah, I know it's exportable, but the thing with waste is that you need to really know what waste you're dealing with so that you can really process it the most cost efficiently possible.
Everything good comes with its own advantages and disadvantages. What are the challenges of using this technology? Does your machine and innovation have some limitations?
Yes, so there's some waste that you can't put directly in we have the 2 machines, the composter and the digester, right? But for the digester, the one that makes biogas, the main limitation is that it can't take any waste. So you need to know, you need to have more knowledge on what you can put in, what you can't put in, what gives you more gas than the other waste, so that you get the most out of it. That's one challenge. Second is the gas storage. So the question you asked on how the gas is stored. That's a bit of a challenge because it means you have to consume everything you produce the same day. If you can't consume it that day, then you have to stop producing. So you have to stop feeding the digester because it can't accumulate or something like that. You need to consume what you produce. So that's a limitation because you can't build up a stock of gas to use later. You can't do that.
Maybe on your second phase, you should look into how you could storing this energy so that it can be used another time. How long have you been in business and what have you learned?
We created the company in December 2016. So we've been in business since 2016. We've learned first starting a business. If you want to start a business where you will create an innovative product or business model, that type of business requires a lot of perseverance, because the fact that it's not there yet, that you would be one of the first to do it in your area, means it's difficult. It's inherent in the challenge, you know. So that perseverance is big, because if you change your direction when things aren't looking up, then you're unlikely to ever get there. Second is you really have to count the money carefully. So accounting is important, whether you're an accountant or not. If you start your business, you have to then become an accountant, because you might not get a second chance. If that money is gone on the wrong expenses, that might be the end of it. The third one is on the consulting, you know, the opportunity. Once you're new in a sector, what you're involved in the new sector that's innovative, one of the advantages is that you might become a recognized figure in your country or in your region as an expert in that field, because you're the first to implement that thing, right? So that's going to lead to people asking you to be a consultant. So what we learned is it's a two-sided sword. There's an upside is you get cash flow, but it's also pulling you away from your main focus. But you have to take that opportunity for the cash flow, but also for the network it will give you, because the people that will be looking for you to be their consultant are also your future potential customers for your innovation, because they look for you because they need that thing, right?
You are modest. Most of the innovators I've spoken to, they have just talked about the good. They haven't talked about the good and the bad. They're only talking about the good. I love this, that you are being more realistic. What are some successes that you can celebrate in your innovation journey? And what has that changed and impacted your career and innovation?
Maybe the most memorable ones for me are the first ones, because at that moment, financially, it was very tough on the business, you know. We were even doubting if we're doing the right thing. And then when we won the first prize with EDF, so Électricité de France, Africa Pulse Prize, it was even second place that we won. But it was for us a big motivator that we were on the right direction. So that one I will remember, and it did a lot for us because it allowed us to keep going when we were really at a tough time. Second one, maybe that's very memorable, is the Africa Prize itself, because for me, it's the one I'm the most proud of, because it's an engineering prize. When you study engineering at a highly regarded institution, you're working on very highly complex subjects with best available technology. And I chose during that process to leave that and go to something very simple, like the Kubeko, to be as simple as possible and solve a real problem. But that pulled me away from a lot of the things I learned, which was really about complex systems. So I was really happy to still win an engineering prize after that decision I made, you know. But, again, it made me feel, at least around that time, that I was that I made the right decision to work on a more simple technology, despite my training to do the opposite. Yeah, those are just maybe two examples and how they impacted us. And then a few of them also, part of the prize was getting this mentoring or coaching, you know, which in the beginning taught us very basic things. You know, for us, they were completely new. But after some years, we realized that they were really the ABCs of entrepreneurship that we didn't know. And over the years, doing one program after another, you learn a lot about, management, marketing, finance, modeling, accounting, which are all, different fields, but are essential for an entrepreneur, especially one that is trying to do something innovative. because the complexity of what you're trying to do means you have less room for error. You have more risk, let's say, to make an error. So you have to know, you have to be better prepared than someone doing a more conventional business, Those are a few things, a few key moments, prizes, and what they did for us.
Talk about Kubeko. What does the future hold for Kubeko?
The future is looking more favorable, but there's still a lot of challenges ahead. It's an expensive equipment for the local purchasing power. Still new, a lot of, in my country, for example, there's no specific laws for biogas and that type of thing. So there's still quite some hurdles, but the future is looking brighter as we are proving more and more things and getting more and more, let's say, investment ready. We will scale, for sure. We will scale and enter new markets. And we'll do our best to be financially sustainable enough that the scaling can be really far and wide. Now, on the African innovators and African innovations, I will speak only on hardware innovations. For software innovation, I think there's better people to speak about that. But on hardware innovation, it's not looking great. There's a few countries that stand out, like South Africa, Morocco, that have really the facilities that it takes to innovate in hardware and build prototypes of a certain level locally. This is missing in most countries, and if you don't have that, the struggles will continue, and the gap between our competitors and us will grow. This is just the reality. So I'm happy to hear about this innovation strategy, and I really hope it comes to reality and that hardware is taken seriously. Because if you look at Asia, why today you buy all the machines you need from India, Vietnam, or China? Because they worked hard on hardware innovation. You can call it whatever you want, if they stole technology, whatever. At the end of the day, they went through a phase of technological hardware technology innovations locally, because that's what allows you to develop your local industry. If you import everything, there's a problem. So from agricultural production to agricultural processing to other forms of processing, hardware innovation is needed. And that is not looking great enough in terms of investment, local public capacity for prototyping, for mentoring, training, technical drawings, the things that an engineer needs as the basis to do engineering. So it sounds a bit negative. There's a lot of potential because the youth is so hungry. There's a lot of knowledge. People know, there's good engineers locally, no doubt about that. But the infrastructure that they need to thrive with hardware innovation is still lacking. It's still underfinanced.
What would you like to be remembered for and your innovation? And what advice do you have for African innovators, governments, and investors?
I'd rather be remembered as a nice, as a good husband, a good father. That's maybe where I would want to be remembered for. I want the innovation maybe to be remembered as something that solved the problem and that allowed, that opened up completely the opportunities that made that people can clearly say there was a before and after, that's for the innovation. Now, on my advice to innovators, if it's your first company you're creating, don't be arrogant, look for advice, listen to people that have already done it, not people that are coaches, people that have already done it, because giving advice from theory and giving advice because you've been through it is different. So look for advice from people that have been through it. It's useful. It will save you a lot of time. You don't have to do what they say, but look for the advice and listen to it, and then make your decisions. That's very important. For the governments, believe in the power of innovation to increase your revenues. Because government obviously wants to keep social order, but also needs to have income from tax revenue and all that stuff. So, but you have to believe that innovation is a way to increase the tax you get in the long term, create more jobs. That if that belief is there, then there's a reason to invest in an equal reason to invest in a road, like you see a road or a bridge as something that will unlock economic potential. Innovation is the same thing. So once you believe that, If you don't believe that, then okay, then order studies or do what it takes to get the information so you can believe it. But that's important because then you can make better decisions as government on how to allocate funds, because innovation is, I mean, we're in a competitive world, so it's important. Now for the investors, I think I don't need to advise them. They are professionals. They're already interested a lot in Africa. For international investors, just be a bit more balanced with how you judge the risk, at least the entrepreneurial risk. It's a bit sad sometimes to see the difference in criteria for an entrepreneur based in Cote d'Ivoire, what they have to prove compared to an innovator based in Europe. Sometimes, you know, they get financing for much less than what we have already done. That if that can be fixed, probably it's good for both sides. Huh? Probably it's good for the investors as well.
Thank you very much, Noel, for your time.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you also for the issues that you've raised, that Africa needs to invest in hardware, and it's nice to learn from others. I like the idea that you spoke about, that it is modest to ask for advice. For investors who want to invest, they should invest in hardware because, as Noel said, that we have a challenge in hardware production and innovation in Africa. And also for investors who are listening in, it's time that they should be more lenient when reviewing African innovations and proposals. And also for people listening in, those people who work in markets and farms, here is a solution to solve your waste management problem. You can use that waste to generate fertilizer for your farm, and you can also get energy to cook your food. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Discovering Africa Through Technology. We hope you've enjoyed our conversation with Noel and gained valuable insights into the innovative solutions driving change in Africa. We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's episode. So please share your feedback and ideas with us on our social media handles and email. And remember to subscribe to our podcast to be informed of future episodes. Join us next time as we continue our journey of discovering Africa through technology with Razia Kulatain Mwawanga. This podcast was developed with support by the African Union through the African Union Agenda 2063 Pitch Zone Awards, a partnership with the African Women in Media. Its contents are the sole responsibility of the producer and do not necessarily reflect the views of African women in media and the African Union.